Broncos HC Sean Payton hints at possibilities as the trade clock ticks. Some doors open with a bang. Others creak just enough to make you wonder what's waiting in the dark. Sean Payton seems to prefer the latter. In the soft afterglow of Denver's 13-11 escape over the Jets in London, the Broncos head coach wouldn't fling the window wide on the November 4 NFL trade deadline. But he wouldn't latch it shut either. Asked whether Denver might make a move, he let the moment hang. "Oh man. Yeah, at some point," he said, sounding more like a man reading a weather vane than one carving a proclamation in stone. "We would always pay attention to what we might be looking for. We have time to do that. But I'm not thinking about that right now." That last phrase is the tell. Not thinking about it yet, because the league is humming with what-ifs and whispered check-ins. And ESPN's Adam Schefter has already set the scene. At least a dozen more deals could be brewing after the Bengals pried Joe Flacco from Cleveland last week. The names floating through the rumor fog are the kind that make fan bases brace themselves. Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Trey Hendrickson, Mark Andrews, Bradley Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Breece Hall, Cameron Jordan, Rick Woolen. Executives and coaches don't claim these players are actually on the block, not officially. But belief has its own gravity in late October, and it tends to pull phones out of pockets and turn tentative texts into real conversations. Teams on the rise want to fortify. Teams taking on water want picks and a clear horizon. Where does Denver stand in that half-light? The Broncos aren't expected to chase a headline-grabbing blockbuster, but even quiet teams carry shopping lists. Reinforcements along the interior offensive line make the most pragmatic sense. An upgrade at left guard while Ben Powers heals, or another layer of protection behind center Luke Wattenberg as the season's bruises accumulate. Matt Pert's first stint at LG told a familiar story of a line still trying to find its shape. Penalties at the worst times, pressure arriving just a beat too early against a Jets front that rarely needs an invitation. Payton didn't single him out, and that matters. "We'll go back and look at the tape. It wasn't just him," he said. A coach's way of acknowledging a broader pattern. Errors, cleanup, corrections. The ritual that fills the hours before the deadline decides who you are allowed to become. So we wait, not passively but attentively, reading the subtle signals the way you watch a quarterback's eyes at the snap. A non-committal answer after a narrow win in London. A league insider hinting at a cascade of trades. A roster that could use a steadying hand in the trenches more than a splash at the skill spots. None of it guarantees action, but together it forms a contour, the outline of a possibility. If Denver moves, expect it to be surgical rather than theatrical, something that makes the offense breathe easier without upending the locker room's pulse. If you're into these late October chess matches and the way a single phone call can tilt a season, make sure you're with us when the next breadcrumb drops. Tap like if you're writing this storyline and want the algorithm to keep the trail warm. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the moment rumor becomes reality. And leave a smart comment that pushes the conversation forward. Name the one interior lineman you'd target. Explain how you'd juggle the cap or predict whether a quiet deadline might actually be Denver's strongest move. Your takes shape what we dig into next, and the best insights always come from this community.